Listen, son, to all the sons out there. You can be anything you want to be. Keep God first and love yourself, love your family, and chase your dreams. Welcome to the Listen, Son podcast.
Welcome to the Listen, Son podcast. This one's going to be special. Got both of my cousin and my uncle here with me. So you got blood in the water, so it's all going to be good. Marshall Martin Jr. and Marshall Martin Sr. Throw up the deuces to the people. And then you got my dad right there, Michael Bond Sr. Nice to see you, Pops.
What's up?
Nice, yep. And I'm here, Michael Bond Jr. Of course, you know our guys, Uncle Rick, Eric McKinley, Money, Deontay McKinley, still a family. They all will be here next episode. But for right now, we're going to keep it moving, and we're going to enjoy this episode because it's going to be a good one. So let's just start it off because we got so much content to get into. Uncle Marshall, we're going to throw the ball to you first, all right? And just, you know, what was your inspiration to being a father and, you know, having a son? And I know you got a daughter too, but, you know, what was that like for you when you were being told that you were going to be a father?
Oh, it was a big surprise for me, you know. I was still in school and stuff like that, you know. So my mother always told me, you know, to take on the responsibility, you know, being a father. So, you know, I took that by the hand and did the best I could do, you know. Even though I was in school, I tried to work, you know, to make sure that they had the things that they needed to get by, you know, and try to stick by their side, you know, until they got grown, you know.
Yes, sir. Now, you know, I know you, but I don't know everything about you, Uncle Marshall. So who were the male influences in your life? You know, who did you look up to? I don't know if you had your father around, but, you know, what motivated you? What guys around you?
Well, I had my father around, you know, and I see the way he treated my mother, you know, so I tried to treat and how he treated his kids. So I took that upon myself to try to be like him, you know, because he always taught me, say, well, you know, you never know if you're going to be married or have kids. So he tried to install, you know, the values of, you know, being on your own if you have to, or if not, being married, you know. So I see, like I said, I seen how he treated my mother. So I try to install that into myself and into my family, you know, and try to make them grow up that way, you know, let them know, hey, if you want something in life, you got to work for it. You know, ain't nothing going to come free for you.
Yes, sir.
All those values to them, you know.
I got you. All right. So hearing that little, you know, when did it hit you, man? Hey, I got my dad in my life. I got, you know, him in the household, and that makes a difference. And I got him to go to talk to and things like that, you know. How did that feel?
Really, man, it was when my best friend, Lamont, you know, lived across the street, and Lamont's dad wasn't around, you know. So a lot of the things that me and my dad did, Lamont was in on. And that's when that was kind of my first experience. You know how our family is, bro. It was, I mean, the aunties were married for the most part, or somebody was around that you recognize as an uncle figure. But, you know, in my best friend's life, his dad, you know, I may have met him once or twice. And so when my dad took me fishing, Lamont went with us. When my dad took us to karate at Braggs and Pitts, Lamont, you know, was in that class too, enjoying with us. So that was my first time seeing, you know, a family without a father via my best friend. Now, you know, he's amazing. He's an amazing man now, and his mom did a great job raising him, and his sister. But I really never experienced that, not in my family or even on my block. You know, some of our guys on my block, June and Joe, their dad was there. Terry Malone, you know, was on the block, and his dad was there. And so Damon and Lamont kind of, but even then, Peck was around. So I remember Peck kind of as not as his father, but as a father figure, you know, a male around. But Lamont, my boy Lamont, who was a strong dude, who was kind of the light that, hey, man, I'm lucky. Like, you know, this is not what everybody has, what I have. So it was seeing how my best friend kind of didn't have that presence, and that's when I felt fortunate.
Yeah, and we don't really recognize it as we grow older and as we're growing up with our dads in our life. But, you know, what are some of the memories you remember having with your dad and moments that you will forever cherish?
Oh, man, I just named a couple. Like I said, fishing. I do remember, you know, you play football as well as I, and when you make that play and you look up in the stands and your pop's recording it, you feel like $1 million, you know, even if it's high school football. You know, those are some of my fond memories, man. But the fishing trips, but even some of the road trips we've taken. I talk about Green Lake all the time. I remember my parents taking me up there, and one of my fondest memories is a reoccurring of one, actually, being in that Regal and when what's the song, man? Me and Mrs. Jones. So just looking over there and seeing my father with his eyes closed, Mrs. Jones, you know what I mean? Just going in, I'm like, yeah. I remember that, and it was all the time. You know, he'd be singing in the car, and I'm just sitting there listening and looking.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm glad we touched on that, and I want to touch on something that this is probably the only episode or the first episode we can touch on this. So I want to make sure we touch on this. By my dad and Uncle Marshall being grandfathers. I wanted to talk about Earl Hardrick. All right, Uncle Marshall, you know, because you talked to Auntie Linda, you're married to her, a great marriage, you know, years. What was it like, little, for you to have a grandfather too present, and Uncle Marshall, you know, to have him around, and what, you know, just speak on that, his presence.
I was double fortunate to have my grandfather, you know what I mean, who picked us, and for a long time in my life, my grandfather didn't pass, so I went away to college. So he was there for a long time and picking us up. I mean, you know, I saw my dad get up and go to work every day. I saw my grandfather, one of the original hustlers. I mean, I seen him collect tires, take us to get cans from the nursing home he worked at, cardboard boxes, taking them to the waste station and working in the recycling. You know, he taught me that grind side. And you know, he was a big, like, tall, empowering guy with big demeanor. He was a big figure. He ate on big plates and drank out of big cups. He's like a giant. And so to have him and see that growing up was man, I was twice fortunate.
Yeah, Uncle Marshall or my dad, anybody you want to speak on Grandpa Earl Hardrick?
Yeah, he was a man. To see him hustle, he reminded me of my dad, you know, because both of them, you know, they had 2 or 3 jobs trying to support their families, you know. And maybe that's where I got it from too, where I worked at one job and be at it and go to another job, you know, even though it wasn't a full-time job, but it was like he had a full-time job and he had a part-time job. And that was like growing up, you know, he was working, and then he had the base shop he was working at, and he kept his family involved in his business, you know. He had other hustles just like my dad. My dad worked at International Harvester, plus he worked at this just like a mall shop, you know, just drugstore. So he would have my mother and them, while he's working at one job, we would go there at night and help clean up and do this, you know. Then when I met Linda's father, he was the same kind of man. I guess those men, you know, they believed in supporting their family, you know. One job wasn't enough, so they might have to have 2 jobs to get the job done, you know. So that's seeing that's what installed me, and that's what I try to install in my kids, you know. Hey, whatever it does to get their money in, besides going out and robbing somebody, you know, you gotta hustle for it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, to piggyback off of Marshall and Little, great man, great. Your granddad was a great man. Taught you, like they said, the hustle and bustle and the right way. You know, he didn't believe in anything wrong, you know, and a protector, a leader. You know, he was all about family too, protecting his wife, you know. And when you meet him, that's all he was going to teach you, all the quality things of being a man. And that's what I learned from him. You know, he taught me some things today that is forever instilled in me.
Yeah, appreciate that. And my dad spoke on it a couple episodes back, Uncle Marshall. So this one is just for you. You're a papa now too. So, you know, what does that mean for you?
Oh man, to see raise my grandkids up, you know, I always try to be a part of their life, you know, even though, like, especially with the oldest 2, you know, because the oldest one, her dad was never there, so they called me daddy, you know, and so I just try to, you know, install in them too, you know, hey, even though your dad is not there, if you need something, if you want something, if I see you trying to do something, I'm there right behind you 100%. And I try to do that with all, not just with my grandkids, but with my nieces and nephews. If I see you trying to do something, you know, the honest way, I'm behind you 100%. Now, you know, you can come to me and I'll try to help you out as best as I can, you know. As long as you're trying to do something the right way, you know. If you out there trying on the bull, I ain't for that, you know. If I see you trying to hustle and the right way, I'm backing you 100%.
Yes,
know?
sir. Yes, sir. All right, Dad, chime in here with one of yours.
Yeah, I want to piggyback first before I welcome the gentleman. Yeah, that's one of the greatest blessings, besides having a wife and kids, is your grandkids, man. And I love them. Everybody know, man, I love them unconditionally, man. And like Marshall say, as they get older, as long as they're doing and trying to, you know, do things for themselves, Papa will be here. You know, I want the best. I want the best for them. But welcome to the Listen Son podcast to Marshall and my nephew Little. You know, to the viewers, they probably saying Little. Who is Little? Well, that's what I call him. I call him Little. You know, so Marshall Martin Jr., you're little to me. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. We got you, Uncle Mike. We see you.
Okay, so Marshall, I had the honor to watch you and take care of your kids, and you did a great job, man. Great job. So, what, you know, with everything that's going on with Floyd and Blake and you know, Cole, what did you do or try to do to prevent anything like that from happening to not just Little, to the nephews, like you said, but especially your son?
Well, you know, I know I raised him right, you know, I know he know how to handle himself, you know, when you get pulled over, don't be trying to go off the handle. You just
Right.
try to comply to what they say, you know, and don't try to be in the wrong places, you know, out there, you know, hey, go to work, come on back, you know.
Right.
I mean, streets is always going to be there, you know, so just
Right.
try to do the right thing, you know, just take care of business and come on back home, you know.
Right. Little,
Yeah.
this is for you, man. Like MJ said, this is kind of a different
Wait for a
podcast for us. You just happen to have your dad and your granddad in your life, you know. So you kind of touched on it beforehand. Just once again, man, express, you know, I need people to understand how important it was just to have your these men, you know, as role models in your life.
Yeah, I mean, they set the foundation. You know, they kind of gave you you didn't have to discover a lot of things when you had people like my dad and my granddad in your life, because you know they kind of laid the road. Hey, this is gonna come up. This is gonna come up. So a lot of things weren't a discovery for me. There's gonna be people in the neighborhood who try to intimidate you. There's gonna be gangs in the neighborhood. There's gonna be distractions. And you know, and I'm a human like everybody else. I fell to some of those distractions, but I always knew being you know, hood cat, GD folks, and it wasn't me. I wasn't raised like that. Even if it was in the neighborhood, it wasn't in my house. You know,
Right.
it's guys I know whose fathers was GD. You know, and they taught that. You know, and that's not a message I heard in my house or from my grandfather. And so, you know, this is kind of I mean, it was. I keep saying that, but it was easy to walk a decent path because you had people showing you the path to walk. I didn't get attacked by the streets as much as I probably could have, because my dad kept me active, whether it be in karate class or baseball, which I played Beckham Stapleton Little League. You know, I got kids and I'm a teacher right now, as well as a DJ, but I got students of mine who's never left the north side of Milwaukee. As a kid, I've been to Detroit, I've been to Arkansas, I've been down to St. Louis. I mean, my family showed me things. When you see different and see better, you do a little better. So I was exposed to a lot of positive sides of males, and that has an effect. You know, my dad got up, I watched him get up and go to work. Well, he was asleep, but his closet was in my room. So he would come out, I would see him every day, come in, grab his work stuff, head out to work every day. When you watch that, you say, okay, that's what's supposed to happen. You know, you're supposed to get up, go to work, come home, provide, have things in your house. So it was an easier path than most, having great role models and great male figures in my life, because I didn't have to figure out a lot of things that a lot of guys who don't have the father around have to figure out for themselves.
And I just want to touch on this too. Even when they was little, when we was on 41st Street, I tried to take all the kids that was in there and show them, you know, we played baseball in the middle of the street. Got them interested in T-ball, like you said. Took him and Lamont fishing, you know, show them that there's more things to do in life instead of just running the streets and getting into something. Show them that there's a better life out there for them that they wanted. You know, there's a lot of things to do with kids besides just letting them hang out there in the streets. You know, show them that, hey, you can do this, you can do that, you know, and I try to keep them busy and things. Even during the week, even though they had to go to school, we'd go out for a couple hours and just go fishing because it was like 20 to 30 minutes away. I knew places that we can just go and get back in time enough for them to get up and go to school in the morning, you know.
Right. My first fishing trip was with Uncle Marshall and Uncle Terry in Madison. Never forget it. Never forget it. So even after his son left, Uncle Marshall still made it a priority to make sure that the youngsters still knew how to fish and got that time. I pricked myself, you know, trying to put the thing, you know, you got to catch yourself on your finger. But I did all right, though. I enjoyed that time with my uncle and Uncle Terry and Uncle Marshall. So go ahead, Pop.
Yeah. Also, little, you know, when me and Pam didn't make it, my first priority was to raise the kids and make sure they're okay. So I had to do that outside the house. So I know you experienced some of that. How important it was to raise your kids and be in their life as much as you could.
Yeah,
How important was that?
It's hard from a distance, Uncle Mike. You want to be there and shelter, and you hear about things that happen, especially, you know, my youngest lives in Atlanta, my oldest in St. Louis, and you hear about something, you know, that happened at school, somebody bullied them or something like that. You want to go and respond immediately, but it's, you know, it's this distance. So it's one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life. And it's still hard. You know, it's not even over yet because I'm very protective of my daughters, but it was imperative. It was important for me that I do what I can, even from my distance. You know, make sure, and I was on child support, but I made sure that all the payments were made. Make sure I had a job so that those payments could keep being made. Make sure I made the visits. Make sure my daughters came up for me with during the summers and during holidays. Whatever time I could get on the clock, I was getting it. You know, there's times I, you know, would just go trap down to St. Louis, you know, in the middle of nowhere just to pick Taylor up and bring her up here for the summer. And then her mom would meet me halfway at times, but, you know, endless flights, endless road trips just to have that presence. It's a little easier now with things like Zoom, right, and FaceTime and all these other technologies, but that didn't always exist. You know, you had to get down there, and then of course, if things weren't perfect between you and the woman, it was even harder, which I experienced with my youngest daughter's mom. You know, and but it was a important matter for me. Important. I can't even come up with the word, but not being in my daughter's life was not an option. You know, I don't care what was going on, what obstacles were in the way, whatever impact I could make, I was going to make. That's just what I was taught. You are there. Even if things don't work out, you're there for the kids. You know, they didn't ask to be here. So it's rough. It's hard, but it's doable. And, you know, a lot of dads will let, you know, I mentioned the child support. A lot of people are like, oh, man, she put you on child support. But I loved it, to be honest, because a lot of times women only see the money. You know, they're going to get this check every month. But they don't realize it's a whole list of rules that gives me visitation times and access to education and access to health information. And so I love that I had a child support order because I was also a criminal justice major, and I read it thoroughly. And I realized, like, wait, she just said how much I owe her. But I got all of these potential routes to access to my child. And I used every one. I mean, it wasn't much. You know, the government is not going to give you. They don't want fathers to get much time on the clock with their kids, but every minute they gave me, I took it.
Right. Yeah. I want to thank my uncles and a couple of my cousins. I want to thank Marshall, your dad, Mr. Earl Buford, because that's why, little, if you notice, you, Lamont, Terry, Malone, Randy and his guys, I tried to, you know, allow y'all to come to the house, hang out, try to be supportive, go to the games, you know, just to keep, you know, you all from being in any kind of trouble outside, you know, in the community. That's what we was
Right.
trying to do. You know what I mean? So I want to thank your
Y'all did
dad.
well with Uncle Mike. We had that.
Yeah.
We had that fun environment without the danger.
Right.
That's what we looked to. You and Uncle Mike and Aunt Pam is a place that was going to provide that.
Yeah, that's what we tried to do. Also, this is rare in the episodes that we had. I want to commend Marshall too, Marshall Sr., not just for being a dad, man. I'm gonna let him tell y'all, but he has done it the way. I know some ups and downs, but you did it the way it's supposed to be done. How many years has you been a husband?
Ooh, it's been a lot of years, man. Even when, you know, I took on that responsibility, I would say right when I got out of school, you know, I was always in my, me and Linda was always together. Yeah, it was some little time that we were apart, but we always been together, you know, so.
Right.
I always been there, you know, so.
You're been married, what, 40, 39, 40 years? I was in the wedding.
Yeah.
Okay. So to let you know.
40-some years, yeah, man.
Yeah. So I
picture.
Yeah. I want to make sure that I, you know, put that out there as well, man. You have not just been a great father, but you have been a great husband as well. So just want to commend you on that as well, man. You know, 40-some years is a blessing, you know. So, son, I'll pass it back to you, but I do have a few more, but I
got you. We got you. We got you. Little, I want you to, you were going that way, but I want you to just give a couple more nuggets, just a minute or so. What would you say to the guys that kids are, especially in the same city as they are, and they let the little excuses or the paperwork or whatever stop them from seeing their kids? What would you tell them?
Don't. I mean, if a piece of paper or angry baby mama stop you from seeing your kids, you ain't want to see your kids. I mean, that's not enough to stop you. Especially, you know, I got daughters, man, but these guys with sons out here. I mean, it shouldn't be any, you know, difference in them. But when you're a father and you got a son, I don't have one, but I just know it would take on a whole different meaning. To let them run wild, to let them run reckless is not an option. And I tell everybody, you know, my daughter, my baby mama doing this, and hey, man, that paperwork I mentioned, that's a baby mama shutter-upper, right? You can argue with the courts, you can argue with my lawyer, but you don't argue with me because the court document says I get Monday, Wednesday, Friday from this time to that time, or alternate weekends. Why are you arguing? I'm just gonna hold up a piece of paper. It's easy, and people are like, well, I can't afford to pay child support. Child support, just, you know, it's based on your income. If you work at McDonald's, they're gonna take a small percentage of your McDonald's check to help support your child. What's wrong with that? Fortunately, I didn't, you know, work in that environment when I had my kids, but I mean, I don't understand it, man. And even when guys are like, I mean, I had to put myself on WIC. You know what I mean? My daughter's mom, Nick, when she went home to St. Louis for a minute while we were in school, I had Taylor while I was in school, and I had to make sure I got the WIC, you know, every day, the milk, the bread, the cheese, and all stuff that came with it. I had to go into the financial support office in Ruston, Louisiana. I'm not even from there, but to make sure my daughter got child care, that I got the couple of food stamps I can get. It's no excuse. I don't care if you got to, you know, have a job. I don't care if the baby mama is a loudmouth. There's no excuse not to be in your son's life or your daughter's life or your kid's life. And if you find the one, you just didn't want to be a father.
And just to tap on to that, see, a lot of people don't know that, because me starting off very young when I was still in school and stuff like that, and I had Naisha, you know, I had to pay child support. I couldn't pay much, but at the time I was paying like $20 here, $30 there. But then once I got me a job that was paying good, I was paying $160, $180, and that was like a week. You know, I was trying to pay off that reals of that child support. Then when I got married, they started taking it out my check until almost till about 10 years in, you know, after I got married. And then when I went down there and I said, I figured, I said, oh, well, I should be caught up in through paying for this. And then when I went in there and I went down there to the courts, it ended up saying, well, they end up owing me money, back paid for money, you know, because I had paid in, you know. But that was after we got married, you know, but I still took care of these. I had that money coming out, but I still was taking care of my responsibilities.
Yeah, I appreciate that, fellas. That's if you listening, you heard that, and you ain't pick up the phone or you ain't found a way to get your shorty, man, I don't know what to tell you, because that right there, it shouldn't be nothing. You know, it shouldn't be nothing. So let's back up a little bit. Talk about the sports you did growing up. We talked about karate, we talked about baseball, you know, talking about them all, and then, you know, going to college, going away.
Well, you know, I played football and I wrestled in high school. Those were my two primary sports. And I was all right at both of them. I was, you know, wasn't going to nobody's college or anything like that. I did get some offers for wrestling once my senior year hit. But, you know, my dad was supportive. I remember, you know, looking for tapes and footage of how I did. And he would have some tape and footage for me. It was a lot of my teammates who couldn't look in the stands and didn't see nobody, you know, and that's just the biggest feeling in the world, to do well, to do something on the field, and you look up and your father's in the stands and he clapping and cheering and high-fiving the people around. Wasn't often, you know, I wasn't the biggest killer on the football field, but I got my fair share of touchdowns and my fair share of decent runs, and I always had that support. First thing I did was look up in the stands, you know, to see if he was there. And in terms of going away to college, you know, I remember my dad and my Uncle Mike, you know, drove me down to Grambling to drop me off in my dorm. That was imperative for me. Again, it wasn't a lot of fathers moving their sons into the college dorms. Mm-hmm. You know, you saw a lot of women. There was a lot of women, you know, there. And I know that's kidding, but women have a tendency to love their sons, but not necessarily raise them. And that's not bad. You know, you got to love your son, but to raise him and to be that responsible male, you know, I had that. And I just know a lot of people didn't, man. Not just on my block, but even when I got to college, I just met a lot of my guys who never met their fathers. They saw me. I saw your dad moving you in. Like, yeah. Everything I can think of that was major that happened in my life, he was there. You know, every important event that he could be, you know. And I know everybody doesn't have that. You know, whether it was just seeing me off to college, my college graduations. I mean, I remember I got my AS degree, and they came down for that. I got my BS degree, they came down for that. Everything that was a highlight, you know, it was shared with him. He was there.
Yeah. And we don't usually get this perspective, Uncle Marshall, but what was it like you know, dropping Little off, and, you know, he ain't coming back with you. You know, you do prepare for the moment for him to get out the house and everything, but how did you handle that?
I think I handled it pretty good. I knew I taught him well, you know, and how to be on his own and stuff like that, you know. It wasn't a big deal to me as it was to his mother. You know, his mother was panicking. You know, I know how I was even though I just went to Whitewater, but I was away, you know, so I know how it is to be up on your own. I had a little short distance to come back to, you know, but he always knew that, you know, I was just a telephone call away, you know. One thing I have to touch on, you mentioned about sports and stuff like that. See, he didn't tell you that he used to be in the band at school, and one reason why he went to Grambling was because of the musical department. And I never told him this, but his music teacher that was at Marshall High School, you know, said if he would have kept up, he would have got a scholarship in band. That would have paid his way, you know. But I'm still so proud of him because even though he went, he said, no, I just want to go on academics.
Yeah.
And that first year, he made the dean's list. So, you know, that made me proud. But, you know, but every time I run into his music teacher, even now, he always asks me, how's Marshall doing? You know, that boy could have been made it good in the band.
Yes,
Man, I played tuba and sousaphone. Hey, man, the band performs during the football games. I ain't ready to go out there and play with the band, and I'm not about to be in my uniform out there. I'm a starter. Like, I'm not about to come out to the band. But it was something I actually, you know, my passion for music stems from that. That's how I'm able to read time and read music to this day, because of those experiences. So even, like I said, I was exposed to a lot, man, and told to, inspired to do as much as I could to build a more well-rounded male, more well-rounded adult. Yeah, but I was pretty good on tuba.
Okay. All right. So let's I think
You would have helped me out on the tuition part, but I'm still proud, you know.
Yes. That's actually one of the reasons I look up to you, Little, because you're not afraid to go against the grain. You know, even as far as when I come in town, golf. You know, you're exposing your little cousins and your little neat nephews at golf, you know, and you wrestled and, you know, karate and music thing. You know, what do you think that impact could have on young men that are always trying to go basketball and football? Do you think they should try some of those other sports out?
Oh, man, I say it all the time. I just left the golf course 10 minutes before I came over here. And if I would have picked those clubs up, man, when I was 14, 15, even younger, like I just bought my nephew Zay a little set. Because, man, I wish those, and you know, I'm a product of the community. That's kind of what they showed us. We had football, we had basketball around, that's baseball. You know, they really only show you those three main things. But being well-rounded, and not just in sports, but having that passion for music, having that passion for education, being a former military veteran, the experience in this, I mean, you know, being in the military got me to Italy, to Belize, the place I never thought I would be before. I learned how to fire a weapon and break it down and read maps and land navigation. The more we know, and like I said, that started as a young age. You know, I know kids who are 20 years old who never left the city of Milwaukee. Well, I saw the art in St. Louis as a kid and leaned against it. And remember going down to Arkansas, remember going to Detroit or Grand Rapids to your family, your side of families. I was exposed to a lot. And so I continued to expose myself to as much as I could. And it's nothing that I've exposed myself to that I haven't had a chance to even use, whether it be military, whether it be something from football, something from wrestling. I coach wrestling now at Bayview. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of those skills, expose myself to a lot of those things have helped me create the person I am now, man, which I think is pretty well-rounded. I've done a lot.
Yeah, we on that golf course, man. We got a tee time. Little understands the importance of a tee time. The rest of his didn't understand the importance of a tee time. So even stuff like that, man, it's a professional setting. You got to understand tee time at 4:15 means be there early.
At 4:05.
Or 4:05. Yes. And we had a good time, man. So that was pretty good. Also talk about the HBCU experience. You know, a lot of kids, you know, they stay in the area, like Uncle Marshall said, Whitewater, Oshkosh. Talk about that.
Man, I was fortunate enough to have cats like, and you know, he's taboo now, but Bill Cosby, who put out shows like Different World, which was a HBCU, a fictitious HBCU called Hillman College. But, you know, you couldn't tell us that it wasn't real. So we saw fraternities and sororities. And then I had a manager at my pizza when I worked at Pizza who was an alpha. And so as a high school student, he actually invited us to these alpha parties. I mean, these fraternity parties. So I was exposed that way. I had a cousin, Earl, who went to Marquette and kind of gave us some exposure. School days, the imagery of college, like specifically Black colleges, were always being pushed on my generation. Mm-hmm. From the TV shows we watched. I remember even Boys in the Hood when it came out. And the last line was like, you know, I forget his name now, but he went to Morehouse while his girl was across the way at Spelman. And Martin Lawrence, I mentioned him, but, you know, during Def Comedy Jam, which is funny, dude always came out in a Black college sweatshirt. You know, so I got pictures of myself in Marshall High School with Grambling State University sweatshirts on in Morehouse with my best friend graduated from Morehouse. We just saw that imagery. And what we saw was reality. Because when we got down there, it was everything that you saw on Different World, on school days, at Hillman College. It was everything you saw. And the Black college experience, come on, cuz it's amazing. And I say that because and always people ask me, why did you go to Black college? Because they say, well, in reality, it's Black people and it's white people, and you have to deal with both. I've been taught my whole life how to deal with white people. I knew how to change my way I speak when I was around them and act different around them. All my fights have been with Black people. You know, all my battles and beefs were with people who look like me. Black colleges teach you how to get along with your people because you engulfed in them. Everything is Black. The restaurants, the financial aid office, your teachers, everybody you deal with, the police, everybody you deal with is going to be an African American. And I never seen that environment. So grandma just taught me how to get along with my own people because I didn't know how.
Yeah, yeah. And Uncle Marshall.
Actually,
Go ahead.
and actually, when me and Linda took little man down there to Grambling just for the visit, I ran into
Hold on. You telling me you took your son down just for a visit too?
Yes.
Yeah, we went down. It was in my senior year of high school.
Yeah.
We went down.
You just don't have parents even taking kids to visits. We know this. So I want to highlight that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so when we got down there, I ran into a guy that was one of my oldest brother's friends. He was a recruiter at Grambling State from getting kids from Milwaukee to come down there to Grambling State. So I even introduced him to him, and they got involved, recruiting him to come on down there,
Yeah, yeah. So what was it like for you coming down to the Bayou Classics or going to Indianapolis for what's the other one, Little?
The Circle City?
Circle City Classics. What was that like, Uncle Marshall, to be a part of that stuff too?
Oh, I went mostly to the Circle City Classics,
Okay.
And because once he got involved, I just liked that environment of all Black colleges meeting together, and all Black folks. They said, come on down there because they just opened the city up to all of the Blacks, and that's what it was. It wasn't really no violence, no fights, no gang banging. Everybody, just a bunch of Black folks enjoying themselves without any fights or ruckus. It's just one big party. So we did that for a couple of years, and then it started changing. Then you started getting like everything else, the roughness started coming out. So that's when we kind of slacked up and going. But in the beginning years, it was great.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now I want you to also talk about Uncle Marshall. Dad, you good? You got something on this? On some of them classics? I know you was down there too now.
Yeah, you keep asking all these questions. I'm gonna forget what I want to ask them, but no, I'm just joking, man. Yeah, it was great. It was great, man. Like Marshall say, back then, man, I tell you this all the time, man. We was able to get together, have a great time, and just hang out, man. Things have tremendously changed. We didn't have to worry about that. We didn't have to worry about that at all. We love even locally, in the city. Marshall will tell you. We would get together, man, and just the grown men. I mean, we was doing stuff for our kids and making sure y'all was at practice, going to games, but we still would hang out, get quality time amongst men and family, and we didn't have no problems with this kind of stuff. I just wanted to ask Little, Little, I tried to get him to go experience the Black college, man. He'll tell you, man, that was a battle, man. I had meetings in my basement, like, oh man, just trying to recruit him and trying to get him to understand about, as you and your dad stated, about the culture of the Blackness, man. And but anyway, I knew wherever he went, he was going to, because we had brought him up right, and he was going to bring a degree home. So that's my question to you is, how important was it not just to go get that experience, but to bring home a degree?
That's huge, Paul. I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah, and it was extremely important. Two things stand out. One is when I graduated from Marshall, and I remember my mama yelling, and the next stage we gonna be crossing that Grambling State University. And at the time I was thinking like, uh-oh, like that's a lot of, like I just said I was going. Wait a minute, we graduation. That's a whole different ballgame. I didn't say that out loud. But that's what I'm thinking in my head. Like, man, that's really a lot of pressure. And then I went for a couple years, and I had some, some rough patches. I had Taylor when I was down there, and it was at one point, man, because I really was thinking about like giving up. I had been in a couple years, and I came here and I worked over the summer at a place called Wisconsin Color Press. There's a little printing shop on like Good Hope. They printed Hustler magazine. Long story short, man, I'm in there. I'm coming home every day with ink all over my clothes, all over my fingers. We had to eat lunch right at the printing press. So I'm eating my sandwich. He got ink prints in my sandwich. I'm like, dog, I can't live like this. I ain't gonna be able to do this. I'm going back to school. And I hadn't dropped out or anything. It was the summer, but I'm like, I'm going to school. I'm going back down to Louisiana. This ain't about to be my life. Forget that.
Right.
And I got back on that track, man. And of course, when I joined my fraternity, that gave me even more inspiration. And I just loved Grambling. There wasn't nothing wrong. You could tell me you couldn't drag me out that place. If I graduated, I wanted to stay. But yeah, it was that statement and that job, man, that said, look, I got to finish this. Like, I need to finish this.
And to you, Marshall, how important it was, to have a son go down there and come back with the degree.
It was very important because like I said, I went to Whitewater and I didn't finish, Mm-hmm. So I was glad that at least somebody out of my family finished, So it made me very proud for him to go ahead and stick with it and get that degree and finish on up, Very proud of him.
I want to thank you, man, because basically we was doing the same thing, man. Like I said earlier, getting your cousins together, getting your nephews involved in things, man. That's huge. You know what I mean? It's given, like you say, them something outside the box,
Right.
and equipping them with more, things besides just the basics, and I thank you for that, man.
You see, we try to carry on some of those traditions. Like when I invited them out to golf, you came over after we golfed, and we had the little barbecue out on the yard.
Yeah.
That was stuff I was exposed to. That's stuff I remember as a young kid growing up. And my cousins my younger cousins are grown now. But still, it's still some of the things that when I was 20, 21, 22, 23, that they need to make sure they still experience those family gatherings. I did the one I just had for 4th of July. Man, they ain't gonna forget that.
Right.
They gonna pass the experience on. But those are the experiences I had. Going over to Medea's yard and being in there, being 100 deep in that yard. I'm exposed them to the same things I got exposed to.
MJ, I got to tell you this, man. And this is, man, I don't care wherever he's DJing, and I just happen to be there. He give Uncle a shout out, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you, brother.
we going there next, but before we go there, I do want to say, just like Little probably, how it was expected. I know for me, Pops, because I know you said that too. You wished you would have finished, just like Uncle Mark said.
Yeah.
I took pride in it too. So now, when you see that Michael Bond degree, just like you see that Marshall Martin degree, hey, that's that degree for both of us. I know Uncle Marshall the same thing. It got Michael Bond on there. You always tell me don't embarrass the name, but you also, you was proud for the moments we did accomplish, and I want you to know that's together, man. That's your degree too, And I know Little Cliche say that's your degree. Y'all got that, So we wouldn't got there without y'all, and that's the facts of it. And then I also want to say, Little, you probably don't remember this, but you took us to Marshall too for flag football. Football, yeah, man. That was 10 years before golf. We played flag football and we cut up some cloth and we played.
Hey, son, I want to tell something else before.
Go ahead.
Before you go switch it up. Okay, you spoke about the college experience. See, these are things, Little, that I try to mentor to not just to my sons or to my kids, to my grandkids, to my nieces and nephews. It's like this, Little. I've been the type of guy, if I fall short, I'm gonna work that much harder to make sure that I never experience that again. You understand what I'm saying? My auntie get on me all the time now, still to this day. 3 years at UWM. You're supposed to finish, son. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I pushed you so hard. And a lot of the episodes, no dad in my life. I made sure, and I'm glad you spoke on that a little earlier. You have to be in your kid's life, especially your son's life. It makes a difference. It's avenues, it's options, it's all kind of things to help you be in your children's life. It
Yeah.
makes a difference. A failed marriage. That was not going to happen to me again. Whatever mistakes I made in that first, I was determined not to let that happen a second time. So all my life, I've been, if there, like you said early in the conversation too, that we all gonna have shortcomings, but you're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to learn. You're supposed to learn from them and do better. You understand? So to you, MJ, that's why I pushed you so hard, and that's why I tell you and Randy, Kelvin, the nephews, about life in general, life situations, about how to treat women. You understand what I'm saying? Treat them like you want to be treated.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Hey, Little, you got to shout out the fraternity because I know if you don't, it's gonna be some.
Oh man, I'm a proud member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated.
There you go. There you go. All right, Uncle
Yeah.
Marshall. So we touched on it. Hey, Little's a DJ. You know, he puts on for the city. Throw out the name, Little.
DJ Mr. Martin.
Mr. Martin. All right. Yes, hooked me up at both of my graduation parties. That's my boy. So Uncle Marshall, he didn't go the football route. He didn't go the sports route at all, but he's doing something positive. How do you support your sons when they decide to go in a different path that's not just athletics, but they're doing something positive?
I'm behind you 100%. I remember when he first started out with DJ, and it surprised me because I had all of these old albums that was down in the basement. And so he came down there and said, "Pop, you still got them albums down in the basement?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because I want them." I said, "Well, they ain't doing nothing but down there. Go ahead and take what you need, what you want." And he took them albums and he turned them and he started spinning them out and putting little mixes into. I said, "Well, hey, go ahead," And then he said, "This is what he wanted to do." So whatever he wanted to venture in, whatever avenue he take, I'm behind him 100%.
Yeah.
I try to support him in any way he wants to go.
Yes, sir.
He came up. He called me up one day. He had that little cart that he takes on the golf course. That he can sell stuff. And he was putting it together. He said, "Pops, I need you to come over and help me get this cart together." So I brought my little tools. It took us a while to figure out, and I kept reading and looking at this. And we had it all together, but the arms wouldn't steer. So I kept looking at it, and all it was taking the ball bearing and turning it upside down and putting it in, and the thing would go. He said, "Man, all this time, we took that thing back apart about 3 or 4 times."
Yeah, that was just this summer.
Before we got it to go, but.
Another hustle of mine, cuz where I go on, Lincoln Park is the golf course that most black people go to. And they're the only park that doesn't have a cart person going around selling drinks and snacks and whatnot. So I bought one. I bought a little mobile cart. So when I ain't golfing, I can go out there and get my money back. So I filled it up with Gatorade, all kinds of, but yeah, I couldn't figure that thing out for nothing, man. Pops came over it was June. That was June. I ordered that and helped me get it and put it together. But yeah, and also gave me my first credit records. I was down there in Texas at the time. Me and my boy Phil were kind of feeling our way around and trying to figure it all out and getting the DJing. And I was getting all that Texas stuff. But we were doing parties that wanted to hear old school stuff. I'm like, man, my dad got a whole crate of records downstairs. I remember him seeing them all my life growing up. And yeah, so he gave me my first crate, to start me DJing.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So you did say you're a teacher, and we know it's underpaid, not a lot of praise in being a teacher. And you deal with stuff every day, man. So I applaud you for that. But I know your passion is DJing. So
It's both.
It's actually it's both. But talk about the DJing side of the entertainment. What it's like bringing something positive to the city and enjoyment you get from doing those things.
It's funny. I mean, it's a lot of power to be in control of somebody's mood. Like if they're gonna have a good time or not. Like I could mess the whole club up and turn it sad. Or I could turn the whole club up. I could make the club violent. I could make the club fall in love. Like I could make people go grind on their favorite girl. You get a lot of power, man. You can change people's moods with music. Is one of the things I love about it. And then I'm a real vocal DJ too, so I like to interact with the crowd and be animated and talk a lot, make witty comments. It's I'm blessed to be able to do it, man. To get paid to do it. I DJ at 4 different spots around the city. I'm on Jamie 98.3 every Friday and Saturday on the radio. It's so, because I can't tell you what it's like to ride down the street listening to you. You know, listening to my mix. I think that's so cool. I'm one of our biggest entertainment venues here. I forget what they call the Rave. You know, but that's where all the big acts. I mean, you're gonna get to. That's one of our biggest entertainment venues. Man, the first day I rode down there, my name was on the marquee, DJ Mr. Martin. I had to take a picture. I had to stop, man. I almost shed it because it's big. Now that's just local stuff, man, but it's big to have your name on a huge marquee like that or be on the radio here. But the DJing is it's a lot of work. You got to keep up with music. I mean, music comes out so much now, so fast. But the old stuff always works. And I'm what you might call, I guess, a throwback DJ. I play a lot of stuff you remember, but I got to stay current on everything too, because I'm at Skybox on Friday night, and the average age there is 21 to 25, and I still manage to rock them. So it keeps me young. It keeps me energized. It keeps me hustling. It keeps money in my pocket. It's one of the just best decisions I ever made to get involved in music.
Yeah, you're not the only one that be smiling, because I get home sometime, and when I be in town recruiting or whatever, and I'm playing 98.3 or whatever, and I hear your name on there, I still smile too. Yeah. So I think I done text you a couple of times, like, listen to the mix, cuz, listening to the mix.
Yeah.
So, I love it too, man. I love it too. But talk about the teaching, because I know right now we in virtual classrooms, we in classrooms where, kids are in there with parents that are working from home, and that's your passion. So what are you seeing right now? What importance do we have to still do to make sure our kids understand the importance of education?
We got a problem right now. I can tell you, this virtual learning. I mean, and I don't want to discount, COVID and being safe, because my mom and dad both had COVID. Mom was in the hospital for days, and my dad was exposed to it. And I even had it. I didn't go to the doctor. I needed a test, but I lost my sense of smell for like a month and a half. That wasn't supposed to happen. But these kids, man, 10 years from now, they're gonna suffer. Not being in school really for almost a year now, because it started in March. Remember, this goes back to the last marking period, and I teach all freshmen. Man, they get 2 hours a week of each subject. You can't learn social studies in 2 hours, let alone math, science. And half of them, they're not logging in. We think they're computer savvy and tech savvy and know everything about it. Man, I spent half the first month just telling kids what button to push and what screen to be on. This is gonna hurt, and I hate to see education done like this. I think it's imperative that my kids see African-American male teachers specifically. I would teach at Bayview High School, and it's probably 6 African-American male staff members, not just teachers. I mean, on the staff. Actually, it's probably a little more, because we got some in coaching and whatnot. But it's just not a lot of us around, and it shows Black kids you can do something besides basketball and football. You can go to school. You can get education. Black males become teachers too, right? And know how to instruct you. And of course, with my military background and my stern background from my parents' upbringing, I put the work down in my class. There's no fool acting. I make sure everybody's on point. But some of those kids, and I get a lot of resistance from the young Black males, because they're not used to a male telling them what to do. There's no male around.
Yep.
Initially, they're combative. Like, who is this dude? Dudes don't tell me what to do. Ain't no dude. But you came in 409. I ain't dragged you. You came in my classroom. So now figure you were, because I don't have many in my life, right? That shows me something different. Of course, there's some male figures in the hood, but they're not necessarily always showing you the best thing to do, right? Show you how to show how to shoot a gun, but don't give you any training on it, right? How to break it down, how to clean it, how to aim properly, so you're not shooting up neighbors' houses. So to be a positive male influence via education is imperative. But I'm scared for what these kids are gonna be like going through this. Yeah. We got to get back, man, into regular education, because they're not just missing education. Some of these kids missing nutrition. They don't eat unless they're at school, right? There's no breakfast. And I don't know how it was when you was in high school, but we didn't really eat breakfast, in the morning. These kids eat it every morning. They in there deep. Mm-hmm. Lunch, they talk about it, they rib it, then they sneak off and eat it. And those meals aren't being provided right now. So you got the nutrition missing, you got the education missing. Some of them don't do physical activity unless they have physical education. You know what I mean? So gym, which we think is maybe, that's the dumb down. Nah, that's important. These kids ain't moving around. The obesity rate is ridiculous. And the diabetes rate, kids get diabetes at a young age. So they gonna be hurting, man. And not even mention the socialization.
Yeah.
So it's just so much missing right now that creates that well-rounded male individual that we were talking about.
Yeah, yeah. And I think another thing that's missing in our community is the health aspect. Uncle Marshall or Pops, you could talk about this, especially Uncle Marshall, having the experience with COVID, just, how important is it for us just to make sure we're taking our health serious?
Well, you got to take your health serious, man. Like I said, I'm just really recovering off of another surgery, so you got to take your health serious. You got, like you said, nutrition, got to eat right, got to exercise, got to keep your health up. And for people our ages, you need to go to the doctor, get checked up, make sure everything is okay. I just came from the doctor the other day, so they told me I don't have to come back and see them no more unless I'm having problems. So that's one good thing. The other doctor said, hey, I ain't got to see you for another year. So between those times, I got to make sure that I'm eating right, exercising and staying healthy, and just got to stay safe. I don't even go out the house much unless it's necessary, I used to walk every day, but now it's getting cooler out, so I can't do the walking now. So I'm going to have to try to figure out something around the house to do just to get that exercise in.
Yes, sir. Pops, you got something on that?
Yeah. Right now, man, your health is your wealth, man. And believe it or not, man, you got to eat right. You got to exercise. And, as we get older, man, these are the more important things, man. And build your immune system up with, some type of vitamins and things that the doctors prescribe. If you can take these things, that'll help these viruses fight, at least, give you some kind of fight off these viruses, man. So, yeah, that's very important. And then to elaborate on what Little said, I'm concerned as well, man. I'm big on education. I have helped my grandkids with the virtue, and it's just, I feel bad, man, and I'm worried, man, because like Little said, a lot of kids not logging in, they get behind. And Mariah just got in Golda, that's like a new school, and she needs to be hands-on, you know what I mean? And like you said, it's social, dealing with the social, with the kids, the eating, the whole nine, man. And it's gonna, we as a culture, man, it's gonna be bad for us.
Yeah.
It's gonna be bad. Yeah.
Our kids are gonna get hit the worst.
Yep.
Well, listen, to be cautious of everybody's time, we laid down a good thing here. So much stuff that we talked about from A to Z. So if you was a viewer listening, and we got Uncle Marshall who's going to deliver the Listen Son segment at the end, and you know how we wrap it up, we're going to be done after that. It's so much stuff. I hope that, when I listen to these, I write down stuff. So I hope you wrote down stuff where you said, hey, a young man that you was just talking to about some of these things we talk about, you direct them right here, because that's what it's all about. It's about father-son relationships, but it's also about that young man who doesn't have what me and Little have been blessed to have, that can come here right on YouTube and get that, So I appreciate you guys. We need to get you back, because I didn't even get to talk to you about the Bucks and how that's been blowing up. Uncle Marshall, I know you work down there and you got to see the different arenas and how the team has grown. And I know me and Little, we rock with the sports team. So we got to get y'all to come back eventually and do some type of round table or some type of discussion at a later date. But like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you got to do. You know where DJ Mr. Martin is now if you want to catch some of his stuff. He told you where he's at on the radio, and he told you where he be at in person. So catch him. Uncle Marshall and Pops, I love you both, man. You've been true inspirations. I can't thank you guys enough for the time and what you've done just for a lot of people's lives, a lot of people's lives. So
Uncle thank you for having us.
Yeah, no problem. Uncle Marshall, bring us home, deliver the Listen Son message.
All right. I just want to say to the young men out there, take your sons, teach them that it's more in life than just being out there in the street and all of that, show them that there's more life than just hanging out in the street, basketball, baseball, football, There's also an education route that you can go, and just show them the better things in life. There's more than life than just gang banging.
Thanks once again, my fraternity and sorority of listeners of Listen Son podcast. Please, women and men, please like, subscribe, and share. Continue to support our goals to connect untold special real life stories.